Morning children. In the previous class, we discussed this chapter. We did the introduction part of the chapter. I have told you about the government. What is government? Is the name of the chapter. And we discussed what is government and what are the works the government do. And I have also told you about the different levels of government. That is, our government is divided at various levels. I hope children, you all are still remembering it. Like we have central government for the whole country. Then further it is divided into state government and local government. State government takes care of the states. The different states, they have the different government like chief minister and the governors. And coming down at the local level, we have municipalities and nagar nigams. Then again coming down, we have village panchayats and panchayats at the village level. So these all things we discussed in the previous chapter. Children, you have to read the chapter after explanation of every class. Now today we are going to read the last part of the chapter. So I'll explain you different forms of the government, like what government we have in our country. Of course, we'll say we have democratic form of government. Then there are various other types of government too, which are prevailing in the entire world, but not in our country. So we will have a quick look at the various types of government. So children, let's start with the forms of government. There are many, as you can see, the different types of government which are mentioned here. But in class 6, we need not to study in detail all these different forms of government. But few we'll study. First is monarchy. In this form of government, all or most of the power is in the hands of one person, king, queen or emperor. And monarch's power is hereditary. And hereditary, what does hereditary mean? Hereditary means that passed down through the family. Like suppose the father is a monarch or a king, then his son will become the king and then his son, and further it goes on. That is the meaning of hereditary. And the best example of monarchy is Saudi Arabia. Then another form of government is dictatorship. In dictatorship, the government is under the control of one person and it takes power by force rather than inheriting power. So children, in the previous form of government, we have seen that the power is hereditary, that is, the father is the king and then his son and then his son, it goes on. But in dictatorship, the power is taken by force, neither it is inherited. Then often were members of the military or police. So this power is taken by either the members of the military or by the police. And there are no limits on power, which means that the dictator's powers are limitless. It can go into any extent. There is no limits, no control on his power. And the example is Adolf Hitler of the Nazi Germany and Saddam Hussein of Iraq. Children, when you will go further in the classes, in the bigger classes, you will study in detail about Hitler and what did he do in Nazi Germany. And Saddam Hussein is another example of dictatorship which prevailed in Iraq. Now comes democracy. You all are very much aware that our country is a democratic country. And what happens in democracy? In democracy, power is shared by all of the people, government and by the people. And there are two types, pure government and representative. The representative government is found in United States. And very rarely a pure democracy, our country is following a pure democracy, which means that our country is following all the norms and conditions which a democratic country should have. We elect representatives, and the example is United States. So children, I want to tell you little more about democratic government. And India, as I have told you again and again, and you are also very much familiar that India is a democratic country. In democratic governments in our times are usually referred as representative democracies. Why they are referred as representative democracies? Because people do not participate directly, but instead they choose their representatives through an election process. And these representatives, children, they meet and make decisions for the entire population. And these days, a government cannot call itself democratic unless it allows what is known as the term universal adult franchise. And this word, children, universal adult franchise, means that all adults means the age 21 and above, they all are allowed to vote in the election, in the country's election. But children, some country, they do not follow this policy of democracy, but still they claim that they are democratic. In proper democracy, in pure democracy, all people, irrespective of male, female, rich, poor, gender, if they are 21 and above, they have the voting right, and each person's vote, it has a equal value, and everybody's vote is considered valuable. So children, this is all about democracy, democratic form of government which our country is following, and many things you all are familiar with as you all see and listen in the news channels. Now, the last type of government is communist states. In this, all property is publicly owned and each person is paid based on their need and not on their abilities, which means that the property is owned by the public itself, and they are paid according to their needs and not according to their abilities, and all working for the good of the overall country. And everybody in this type of government, they work for the betterment of the overall country, betterment of its citizens, betterment of each and every person living in the country. So this is the conclusion of the chapter, children. It's a very small chapter but very interesting, and very important. Children, go through the chapter and try to understand the real meaning of what is government, the different levels of government, the types or the forms of government, and of course, children, try to study in detail the democratic governments and the countries which are following democratic form of government, and specially study each and everything about our country, India. That's all for today. Thank you. Have a good day.